Life for the top 1% of Google Ads managers has never been better. But for the other 99%, it's more depressing than ever. So what makes the top 1% different? And almost nobody talks about it. It's not better tactics, it's not AI, it's not even keywords. It is psychology. Google Ads is highly analytical, data, metrics, optimization, but very few jobs combine analytics with risk and stress all at the same time. Most jobs, they're process driven, car hire desk. Customer takes a car, brings it back, it's structured, predictable. If it goes wrong, another car goes out tomorrow or even this afternoon. Google Ads isn't like that. Think about what account managers are actually dealing with. Every single day, they're spending someone else's money, real money. And if it doesn't come back as sales, leads, revenue, bookings, then there are consequences. Because business owners and clients, they don't take well to losing money. They don't. And the account manager knows that. They feel the pressure. Every time they log in, every time performance dips, every time a client email asks, what's going on? It's not just stress. It's a very specific kind of psychological pressure that most jobs simply don't have. You're not just doing a task, you're gambling, rather investing with someone's livelihood, and they're watching you. Google Ads really, as I've said so many times, is closer to currency trading than most people admit. You're allocating someone else's capital, managing uncertainty, making calls in real time without complete information. Because the numbers are analytical, but the decisions, they're actually emotional. And that's what separates the average advertiser from the top 1%. We all know people buy emotionally. That's a marketing first principle. But people managing Google Ads are doing that emotionally. You think they're analyzing data, they're not. They are just reacting to emotional triggers. Conversions spike. Ooh, let's scale. Performance drops. Oh my God, I'm going to panic. What am I going to do? AI suggests something amazing. You just follow along. It's easy with it. It knows more than me. Emotional decisions are the ones that have been made, not logical ones. And this is exactly what an amazing guy called Professor Peter Stevens describes in the book, The Chimp Paradox. It's the psychology behind how the British Olympic team won so many gold medals. There's 3 parts to this model. The 3 parts explain how decisions get made. First of all, we've got the human, the logical side of our brains, the thinking brains. Then we've got the chimp, a bit emotional, reacts to things. It's activated where anything takes its interest, catches its attention. And then we've got the computer. It's like the rules book that's stored in the frontal cortex. Now, if the human gets time and space, it can analyze all the data logically. But the moment fear, risk, and pressure appear, the chimp suddenly pays attention here. This is dangerous. And it works 20 times faster than the logical side of our brain. And it's got this clever switch in it that when triggered, it shuts off our thinking human entity entirely. That's why, you've seen this many times before, you just can't tell someone to calm down because the logical side of their brain is now effectively offline. And Google Ads consistently triggers the chimp. Performance spikes, client pressure, budget changes, AI recommendations, clients not happy with the ROI. So all these decisions become emotional. Luckily, there's only one way of controlling it, and it's controlled through what Professor Peters calls the computer. The computer sits on the front of our frontal cortex, and this is where habits and rules live. Things like, there are rules that you put in, like don't touch hot things. Ooh, a bit too hot there. Stay away from snakes, always a good one. And snake oil salesman as well. When the chimp fires up, it checks the computer first. Ooh, that burger looks amazing. Chimp says, oh yes. But the computer says, no, we're on a diet. You're going to your sister's wedding. We said we fit in that suit. Oh yeah. Chimp backs off. And it's the same in Google Ads. The computer answers, no, We don't scale on day one of fresh data. No, we don't make panic decisions when we get a short-term drop this afternoon. Clients are often pressuring here as well, but no, we need more data. We validate AI decisions and AI advice before we act on it. But if no rule exists, the chimp jumps in and decides with what he thinks it's best, with that some type of emotional gut reaction that you know all about. And that's when accounts go wrong. And what you really need is, you need a decision framework. You need to create a buffer so you don't start making these immediate emotional decisions. So when something happens, good or bad, you don't immediately react. My advice is, and I've seen this so many times used by top managers, you write it down. You use a spreadsheet. Log what you're proposing and what data supports it and what outcome are we going to expect from it. And then we walk away. And this is the key bit. Writing things down is boring. There's no urgency. There's no adrenaline. The emotional energy just fades away. The chimp loses interest and the human gets the space to think again. And so you can put this into practice in your own business. We use 4 steps here at Click Convert. Step 1 is we see something, we write it down, we don't immediately act. Step 2, we log that decision and the supporting data behind it. And then step 3, we walk away, we do something else, we work in another account. And then we come back to it and we review it in the cold, hard light of day. And you type of thinking, right now, why was I thinking of making that decision? What do the notes say? And now looking at it again, would I still make that decision? And if the answer is no, you are often going to make an emotional decision. But if you now, in the cold, hard light of day, think, yes, that's a good decision, that's a rational decision. And that's what we want. Now, we can't just immediately put these rules in our head. These rules have to be rehearsed. They have to be repeated. They have to be installed. You can't just read the checklist once and expect it to boldly hold in there under pressure. But you know that voice you get in the head? You know the one where you go to yourself, oh, I must go to the gym today, I must go to the gym. That's how you do it. You just basically speak to yourself in your own mind. So you say, look, if performance gets a big spike, I write it down, I don't scale it. If it drops, I don't panic, I'll just review it later. And if AI recommends something, always go and double check it and validate it. What you've got to do is keep repeating these rules in calm moments. You rehearse them. And you're thinking, oh, this is a bit odd. But no, it isn't. It's why the army trains the same behaviors into people time and time again. Because in battle, the rational human being isn't in charge in a battle. The chimp's in charge then. They act with instinct. You don't want someone thinking from scratch in a battle, and you just want people to instinctively react. That's why the army repeats and repeats and repeats, reinforcing these rules into the front of soldiers' heads so they know how to react in a stressful situation. And Google Ads, by no means, it isn't war, but you are fighting for clicks daily. You're fighting for conversions, leads, bookings, inquiries, sales. There's money on the line, there's pressure, there's uncertainty. You must train yourself with the right rules and behavior. This leads us to guardrails. Got hold of the guardrail. Never scale on day 1 of data, for example. Never pause if you suddenly see some volatility that's spiking. Never ever restructure without a solid reasoning and a plan. And I keep saying this to you, don't just trust what AI recommends in these campaigns without real validation. And the other one you've really got to put in there is like, don't go changing multiple variables at once. You'll never know what worked. So don't go and put new ad copy in and then start adjusting the CPCs. You don't know which one of those 2 worked. And this is what the chimp would type of do. Oh, this feels good, I'll change that. Oh, I'll adjust the bids a bit. I'll have a few new negative keywords in here. I'll throw a bit more budget in. Whoa, this is going to impress the client. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to make sure we don't fall into these traps. So these are like psychological safety systems that we're putting in place. But even with the rules in place, There's one more problem. It's called the gremlin. It's that little voice that just justifies you breaking the rules. It's like having a little devil sitting on your shoulder telling you, yeah, you're on a diet, but you're doing brilliantly. And when someone puts a burger in front of you, that little devil goes on you, yeah, you deserve it, just this once. That's what we mean by the gremlin and the little devil. That's like me and this habit I've got of buying cars all the time. Just try and put some more rules in, no new cars, but I have seen some nice R8 spiders around. Gremlins don't create emotion, they just justify what the chimp wants to do, and they always make it sound reasonable in your own head that what you're doing is a reasonable action. But when you hear yourself thinking, oh, just this once, or this time it's different, that's not a strategy, that's a gremlin at work. So go back to your rules, write it down, walk away, do something else, come back and review. That's sound logic. That's about how the 1% of top managers work. Now, we have to discuss something else. Risky business, this bit. Before any campaign launches, you need to define 3 things. Just like a commodities trader or a currency trader, you need to define when you're going to enter, what's your exit, and what is your stop loss. How much are you prepared to risk? At what level of spend on a campaign do you pull it back when the conversion costs are too high or you're not getting conversions? But on the flip side, what does success like, and at what point and at what CPC cost level and at what volume are you going to scale? You need to define these in advance, because if you're not doing this, then what you're doing is you're not investing, you're gambling. We've got a basic plan. And you've got to install these rules. So when the chimp panics because the CPC is too high, or it gets excited because we're getting leads coming in at 20, then the computer answers with the rule and we control the chimp. And don't forget the 30% rule. I've covered this before in videos. We don't want to be testing and investing with our major budget. We want to have a test budget, maybe up to 30% on the side for running these tests, testing new campaigns, new audiences, new creatives. It's our type of experimental capital. And we're going to expect of it some to fail, because that's just life. You can't often get success without failure. And that's why we got 70% of the budget going over here to what's proven and what's worked. And this is where discipline matters, because without this type of splitting your major investment budget and your testing budget, the chimp treats it all as one and just goes a little bit mad, testing all over here, and you can get yourself rapidly into problems. Now, there's another feature that the top 1% have, and it's the experience problem. Many accounts today are managed by young teams, Gen Zs, millennials, all smart, all capable, all hardworking, but the deep psychological understanding that you're going to need to become the 1% comes from books like the likes of Rory Sutherland, Steve Peters, Alex Hormozy, the thinking that rewires your decision-making process. The trouble is, most aren't reading it. They're on TikTok, they're watching short form videos, they're looking at quick tips. They're too easily distracted. A colleague shares something, you know what I mean? Look at this TikTok video, your attention shifts. You've got to remember, and it's really important when you're working on accounts here, it takes 15 minutes without distraction to genuinely get into productive thought. And if the guy sitting next to you keeps showing you TikTok videos, you're not going to get there. And what we end up with is shallow tactical knowledge without the decision control underneath. And the other thing I know, as having been an agency owner for years, you can't rely on people building their own frameworks. You have to embed it through training, repetition, rules that become automatic before the pressure arrives. You need it systemized, so when the pressure does arrive, they've got those rules in there to follow it exactly as it should be, not just reacting emotionally as a chimp does. Back to our top 1% of account managers. Tactics often are the last thing the top 1% think about. They actually are more concerned about control, risk mitigation, defining how much they're going to spend before they spend it. And they're focused on behavior through rules, not reactions. They rely on emotion managed through distance away. They log decisions, they review them, they validate them, and then in the cold, hard light of day, when you've got your human side of the brain in, then making decisions. Average operators, they react emotionally without knowing it. The top 1% follow their own rules. So, when you're next out and about and someone says, hey, we use the latest tactics, we know the latest AI strategies to use with Google Ads or Meta, they're starting in the wrong place, because Google Ads is not just about pressing buttons, it's about controlling emotion, installing rules, frameworks before problems arrive, managing risk like an investor, not a gambler. And sure, all of us could easily go, do you know what? I've got a good feeling about the number 70. Yeah, I'm going to move all the bids up to 70 cents on my CPCs. That'll be, I've got a really good feeling about the number 70. We all know that would be a disaster, but in truth, most Google Ads managers aren't too far removed from that type of approach there. And this is the psychology of winning at Google Ads. And once you put this into practice, everything genuinely changes. Got a bit of a challenge for you. Next time you're at an industry event, conference, meet and greet, coffee morning for your industry, and someone's talking about Meta and Google Ads, and someone starts talking about tactics, latest strategies, what's coming next, you know, all the type of stuff. Ask them a simple question. How do you manage the psychology and the risk that comes with running Google Ads? And then wait. I bet there's going to be an awkward silence, I guess. They've never been asked it, never thought about it. You can watch them real time. You can watch their inner chimp react in real time and panic. And that's exactly why most of their accounts will not perform the way they should do and the way they're trying to reassure you that they will. They just won't. So, after watching me go on about the psychology of the top 1% and how they manage Google Ads, you're probably thinking, maybe I need some help. So call us, scan the QR code on screen, or visit clickconvertmarketing.com, and we can install for you the perfect repeatable ads operating system into your Google Ads account. It'll be a game changer, and it includes all our psychological and risk management strategies. But to be fair, if you want to keep bumping along, wasting money, don't call us. Go make a coffee, come back, and then ask yourself, do we actually need some help? If no, you're fine, off you go. But if you sit back and think, yeah, now I'm thinking like this, not emotionally, I like money and I want some more of it. And then, if that's the case, give us a call, scan the QR code, and go visit clickconvertmarketing.com. Until next time, guys, bye.